Hello, beautiful souls. If you grew up on soul food cooking or grew up in the South, then you already know that grits are a staple in most Southern homes. And if you're looking for a fantastic meal that boasts Southern comfort food with an extreme infusion of soul food flavors, then this Black Folks Southern Shrimp and Grits recipe is what you've been searching for. Welcome to the Soul Food Pod, the first podcast dedicated to the history and culture around Southern soul food. I'm your host, Shonda Nicole, your go-to recipe creator for modern soul food cuisine, making life easier and more soulful, one recipe at a time. This season, I'm bringing you into my kitchen to listen to the recipe as I prepare iconic African American dishes, unveiling the secret ingredients and step-by-step instructions. You'll learn soul food culture, history, proper seasoning techniques, how to speed up traditional Southern soul food recipes, and how I efficiently use modern kitchen appliances to make your favorite traditional dishes. I'll teach you how iconic African American recipes are now easy enough for anyone to make and everyone to love. Thanks for joining me in the kitchen today for another episode of the Soul Food Pod. Remember, you can find the link to today's recipe in this episode's description or on thesoulfoodpot.com. We're talking in detail today about a Black folks shrimp and grits recipe, a seafood dish combined with fluffy grits and a creamy, savory Cajun sauce. There are a few steps to unpack to make this favorite Nolans dish, so let's not wait another minute. I'm hungry just thinking about it. We have an incredible, flavorful listen to the recipe episode cooked for you today. Let's dig in. What is Black folks Southern shrimp and grits? Well, Southern shrimp and grits is an African American dish that has all the creamy, saucy, and seafood goodness with the perfect Southern Creole seasoning to keep things interesting. It's served over white corn grits laced with the perfect blend of mascarpone cheese, followed by a creamy sauce infused with smoked paprika and chili powder. This Southern shrimp delicacy offers a variety of flavors that will leave your taste buds amazed. You'll find this fluffy bed of grits with incredible seafood components and a flavorful sauce full of soul food deliciousness. Shrimp and grits is an enticing meal, whether it's breakfast, brunch, dinner, or any time to eat throughout the day. What ethnicity is shrimp and grits? Asked another way, what nationality is shrimp and grits? Or is shrimp and grits an African dish? I think that's what you're trying to get to the root of here. So shrimp and grits originate in Africa as ground maize and shellfish dish. Then the dish migrated with enslaved Africans to Southern plantation kitchens in the American South. Is shrimp and grits a Southern dish? Essentially, shrimp and grits is an iconic Southern delicacy with West African influences. This iconic dish combines creamy grits under a delicious savory sauce topped with well-seasoned succulent shrimp. It's an iconic Southern recipe served up all day for breakfast, lunch, or dinner. Is shrimp and grits considered soul food? Absolutely. Shrimp and grits is a Southern recipe with African influences and one of the best classic soul food recipes. And also, is soul food Black culture? That question always comes up when we talk about what's considered soul food. So, food is vital in Black culture because it brings people around the table and puts a pause on the fast-paced living and the constant oppression of our people, replacing it with good times, comfort food, happiness, and laughs, paired with Black folks' comfort food recipes, also known as soul food. Now, what state is known for shrimp and grits? This is a fun one. Can you guess? Louisiana is the state known for its delicious seafood dish, shrimp and grits. And if you didn't know, you better ask somebody. Now, Black folks' shrimp and grits originated in South Carolina, like many foods created by enslaved Black people. However, Southern shrimp and grits then made its way to Louisiana, a hearty meal that's easy to make and full of flavor today. Like gumbo, shrimp and grits is one of the most iconic dishes in Louisiana and New Orleans, the city known as the Big Easy. Now, how do you make black folks Southern shrimp and grits? Let's get down to the nitty gritty here. So, the secret ingredient to black folks shrimp and grits is the Southern Creole sauce. Typical to soul food and black folks cooking, the seasonings make each recipe like none other. So, of course, it's got to be the sauce. That's where the seasoning is. Simply prepare jumbo shrimp, white corn fluffy grits, and the cream based, highly seasoned Creole sauce to make this classic dish. Use a cast iron skillet to warm the shrimp and grits, smothered in the decadence of the Creole sauce, and garnish with fresh chopped parsley and serve right away. All right, are you ready to do this? Here's the kitchen equipment you'll need for black folks shrimp and grits. Of course, we're starting with the Instant Pot electric pressure cooker. It's what I use, but it is optional. The Instant Pot Omni Plus oven, probably my favorite thing in the kitchen, also optional. You can just use the regular oven in your kitchen. And you will need a 10-inch cast iron skillet. All right, so the ingredients for the shrimp. You're going to need 2 pounds of jumbo shrimp, frozen or thawed, already peeled and deveined, a half a cup of water, 1/4 teaspoon of avocado oil or spray, 1 tablespoon of butter unsalted, 1 clove of garlic minced, 1 teaspoon of salt, and half a teaspoon of black pepper. For the grits, you'll need 1 cup of white corn grits, 2.5 cups of chicken broth, a half a cup of heavy whipping cream, and another half a cup on reserve in case it's needed at the end, and I'll explain why. A half a teaspoon of salt, 3 tablespoons of butter, 1/4 cup of mascarpone cheese, 3 strips of crumbled bacon, which is optional if you want to garnish the dish at the end. And we are a turkey bacon household for the most part, so you can use pork bacon or turkey. It's good either way. Ingredients for the creamy shrimp and grits sauce. You'll need 2 cups of heavy whipping cream, 1 tablespoon of smoked paprika, 1 tablespoon of chili powder, 1 tablespoon of garlic powder, 1/4 teaspoon of cayenne pepper, 1 teaspoon of chicken bouillon granulated, 1/3 cup of fresh parsley finely chopped. So here's how to make black folks shrimp and grits on the stovetop. You can prepare shrimp and grits on the stovetop, and I include the instructions to do so on thesoulfoodpot.com. But for today's conversation, I'm going into detail about how to make shrimp and grits using the Instant Pot. All right, here are the instructions for the shrimp. You're going to remove the Instant Pot lid and turn on the saute setting for 5 minutes. Although you will not use all this time, I like to have a little extra time in minutes for the time it takes the saute to become active. Now, with the lid off the pot, heat the water, avocado oil, and butter in the stainless steel inner pot for up to a minute. Add the shrimp, garlic, salt, and pepper. Cancel the saute setting and close the Instant Pot lid. Close the lid and make sure the valve is up in the position for sealing if you have an older model, and pressure cook on high for 1 minute. When the saute time is finished, allow a natural pressure release for at least 2 minutes. And then to open the Instant Pot lid, move the valve to venting, and manually release any remaining pressure if applicable. Then you'll use a colander to drain the liquid from the cooked shrimp and set the shrimp aside to add to the grits later. All right, here are the instructions for our fluffy grits. Open the Instant Pot lid and add the chicken broth, grits, salt, and butter to the stainless steel inner pot. Close the Instant Pot lid, again make sure the valve is up in the position for sealing, and pressure cook on high for 10 minutes. When the cooking time is finished, allow a natural pressure release for at least 5 minutes. To open the Instant Pot lid, move the valve to venting and manually release any remaining pressure if applicable. Pour in the heavy whipping cream. Stir the grits to combine the ingredients. Then add the mascarpone cheese and continue stirring. Remove the stainless steel inner pot with the grits inside so they don't dry out. We don't want to keep them on the inner Instant Pot burner. And then cover the Instant Pot stainless steel inner pot while it's off the burner. Cover it with the Instant Pot lid to keep the grits warm while off the Instant Pot burner. Now, my pro tip here is when it's time to add the grits to the skillet, you can mix in 1/4 to half a cup of heavy whipping cream to loosen them. That's why I said keep a little bit on reserve. All right, now the instructions for Southern grits on the stovetop, again, you can find those on the soulfoodpot.com. So now we're going to go on to the instructions for the Southern shrimp and grits sauce, the really good part. All right, you may need to transfer the grits to the skillet at this point if you only have one instant pot because you will need to use a stainless steel inner pot for the sauce. All right, so now you want to add the heavy whipping cream, smoked paprika, chili powder, garlic powder, cayenne pepper, and chicken bouillon to the empty instant pot stainless steel inner pot. Turn on the saute setting for 10 minutes. And once again, you may not use all this time. I just like to have the extra time waiting for the saute to become active. Allow the saute to come to a boil and boil for about 3 to 5 minutes. Cancel the saute setting and stir in the parsley. Remove the shrimp and grits sauce in the stainless steel inner pot from the instant pot burner. And then my pro tip here is while the sauce is boiling, keep watch of it and occasionally stir to avoid overcooking and burning it. Now, here are the instructions for setting up the whole dish of shrimp and grits. You want to add the grits to a 10-inch cast iron skillet. Optional, you can mix in the 1/4 to half a cup of heavy whipping cream to loosen the grits if needed. Place the cooked shrimp on the grits, then pour the sauce over the shrimp and grits. Heat the skillet with the shrimp and grits in the Instant Pot Omni Plus oven on the warm setting for 5 to 7 minutes, or 5 minutes in the conventional oven on the warm setting at 150 degrees Fahrenheit. Remove the skillet from the oven and optionally garnish the finished dish with the crumbled bacon. Serve this Black Folk Southern shrimp and grits recipe right away and enjoy. All right, now, beautiful souls, what do you serve with Black Folk Southern shrimp and grits? From Mardi Gras to Christmas brunch or New Year's dinner, shrimp and grits is a classic Southern dish that holds its own. When paired, it's usually served with bread like homemade cornbread or a light vegetable side dish to balance this hearty, saucy meal. A good side dish would be like for an authentic taste of the South, consider serving your shrimp and grits with these Southern vegetable favorites. So, could be like Southern green beans, Southern creamed corn, soul food collard greens, or Southern fried cabbage. And for dessert, since this is a Nolans dish, homemade Southern bread pudding, of course. All right, Black folks, Southern shrimp and grits, here are your frequently asked questions, beautiful souls. What's the best shrimp to use? When purchasing shrimp to make shrimp and grits, choose jumbo size shrimp. They are the shining stars on top of this creamy, fluffy dish. Now, can you use frozen shrimp for this Southern shrimp and grits recipe? Yes. You can use frozen shrimp, fresh shrimp, or raw shrimp already thawed. It's just best if the shrimp are not pre-cooked. How do you peel and devein the shrimp? It's not the most glamorous task, but it sure is satisfying once you get through all those pesky shells. So, peeling and deveining shrimp is not as hard as it might seem. What you'll need is a small, sharp knife or kitchen shears to cut the shells off the back of the shrimp, and then make a shallow incision along the inside curve of the shrimp's outer edge. You can also buy the shrimp that's already peeled and deveined, just like I did, to avoid this pesky task. All right, now, what is a Creole sauce, you asked? Creole sauce, also sometimes called a Cajun sauce, is used in Black folks shrimp and grits. It's a type of creamy sauce that originated from Black folks in Louisiana. It's made with the Caribbean spices, Cajun seasonings, and chicken bouillon. Some folks include a tomato base. Now, Creole sauce can also include butter, bacon fat, or andouille sausage for added flavor. Consider also serving Creole sauce as a savory accompaniment over rice or as a dipping sauce for other seafood. Now, are grits an African American food? Medium.com explains it best. Quote, no matter how you dress them, grits are quite literally a part of the fabric of America, end quote. Now, because American interpretations are a mixture of Native American, West African, and African American version of this dish. Now, what do grits taste like? This recipe is made with 100% white ground corn. It's similar to the taste of cornmeal that's been cooked just right to get the most creamy grits with a soft texture. Grits are often served with butter, cheese, and salt for breakfast or with seafood for dinner. Of course, grits can be eaten all by themselves as well. I know I love cheesy grits. Now, the best grits are not hard on the outside, but also not mushy either. I find that the Instant Pot pressure cooking makes fluffy grits possible with ease. Now, what are grits made of? So the grits are made from corn that's been soaked in water and then ground into a coarse meal. Next, when we get to our kitchen, the grits are pressure cooked or boiled in water or chicken broth until they reach a soft and fluffy consistency. Grits can be served alone or with other ingredients such as butter, cheese, bacon, eggs, and green onions. Now, can you use quick cooking grits for this southern shrimp and grits recipe? Yes, but the best grits are both soft and fluffy and are 100% white corn or 100% yellow corn grits. This recipe calls for the white corn grits. And how do you thicken the grits? So, the best way to thicken grits is to simply learn the precise timing and temperature needed to cook them. You want grits to thicken up on their own without any outside help. So, again, my pro tip and best friend when making grits is going to be the Instant Pot pressure cooker. It makes it almost effortless for you. Just put them in, turn on the right setting, and they're done. Now, how do you make creamy grits? So, again, I like using an Instant Pot, of course, when cooking this shrimp and grits recipe because it makes the cooking time and temperature for rice, grains, porridge, and grits easy and almost effortless. It's just a drop in the pot for soft and fluffy grits every time. The brand of grits I like to use and recommend is Bob's Red Mill White Corn Grits slash polenta. I always find them at Whole Foods. Now, adding other ingredients such as milk or flour in an attempt to thicken the grits can take away from the taste and quality necessary when making this Southern signature dish. Adding an egg to the grits will also give them a thicker texture in no time, but that's only recommended when serving breakfast grits. Now, beautiful souls, which is your favorite way to enjoy shrimp and grits? For breakfast, brunch, lunch, or dinner? Let me know. All right, beautiful souls, till next time, remember that food for the body is not enough. There must be food for the soul. Thank you for joining me for this episode of the Soul Food Pod. Did you enjoy today's conversation and recipe? If you want more easy to make soul food recipes and Southern food for the soul, then follow me for ideas that make your life easier plus more soulful. Subscribe here to the Soul Food Pod and subscribe to my food blog, thesoulfoodpot.com. On the Instagrams, follow me at Shonda Nicole. Have you had today's recipe? Would you make it? Comment below and let me know. And make sure you rate this podcast 5 stars and subscribe for all the soul food.